Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and this is my review of Aliens, a movie that I liked so much that it took me 3 months to finish watching it. I most likely have some sort of internet addiction in which I'm not only on my phone all day long, which is my business. 85% of my business is done on my phone, and it's all just me being addicted to the internet. So it's not just that I'm on my phone, it's like, oh, I haven't checked my email in 3 minutes. Weirdly enough, there's always something there. But I've kind of gotten more into the habit of 5 minutes at a time. Because at one point, I was actually watching movies 1 to 2 minutes at a time, and it was ridiculous. Now I've got my all the way up to 5. Sometimes I do like 6.5 before I go, check, whatever, check my email. But there tends to be a real, obviously, the more I like something, the quicker I can get through it. Shockingly, I got through, Sucker Punch, which I've hated for 9 years. I got through that in like evening and a morning, and it was done. And I was too young to see Aliens when it came out in the theater. I mean, actually, I probably wasn't. It was probably like 12 or 13, but back then people were kind of strict. They're like, does anyone say a curse word in this movie? And there'd be like a whole discussion with all the parents. They're like, I don't know, probably like 14 or 15. I remember it was like a huge deal for me to see Ghostbusters when it came out. I was probably, 11 or 12. And that was like a huge decision. It's like, there's a curse word in this movie, but we believe you can handle it. I read about it, a little star log or whatever at the 7-Eleven, and I was very interested, but I didn't get to see it until it was on like broadcast television, and like, 4 years later. And of course, typical scenario, I catch it like in the last 10 minutes. So my first memory of watching Aliens is watching Gorman and Vasquez, blow themselves up with a grenade in the air duct, which for some reason my memory rewrote as that being Hudson and Vasquez. I guess because they had a little kind of like flirty thing going together, but not really. So Aliens is a sequel, and the funny thing is Aliens is a sequel where, obviously everyone loves Alien and Aliens. And then Aliens 3 is like everyone hated it, but I think now people are rewatching it with, looking at it in a different way and like, oh, it's pretty good. I'm actually watching Alien Resurrection right now, which is kind of like stupid as shit. I don't know how to describe it as being high budget and low budget. Like, I feel like they spent a lot of money and then they lit it like an episode of Saved by the Bell. Like, it just looks stupid. There's a lot of basketball in it for some odd reason. Anyway, so I am going to rewatch Alien 3. Amazon Prime Video, like the search function is weird. Like, I have Amazon Prime Video and I have HBO. But like when I search at different times, it always prioritizes the director's cut and the anniversary and the whatever. I don't watch that stuff. Whatever was the version that came out in the theaters, that's the one I watch. That's the quote real version. So anyway, a lot is made about Aliens 3 ruining Aliens because, spoilers, it kills, a couple of the characters that survived. So they say, well, what's the point of the second movie? Because you just killed off everyone but, Ripley and, I haven't seen Aliens 3 since it was in the theaters. The cyborg survives for a while, right? They like reconstruct him. But Aliens 2 completely well, not completely, but it's kind of like a fuck you to Aliens 1. It's like, if you just would have had like one gun, you could have taken care of that. At one point, Vasquez takes care of one of the aliens with a handgun. She just kind of like scrambles around with it and then puts a freaking 45 caliber pistol to its head and just fires like 6 shots into its brain, and it's done. By the way, I don't think the brain would have been where she's shot, because they have those like double mandibles that retract inward. So I just assumed like the front half of the head, that was like where the mandibles, and the brain was probably in that back, like elongated head. it's a movie that everyone loves, and they should, because it was made with love. It was made with love and care and attention, and it works very, very well. In fact, one of the things I've started doing since I've, reviewing movies more, is that I pay attention in a way I didn't used to pay attention. Like, I pay attention really, really closely. So I like take mental notes. It's like, oh, this person did this. This is this character's relationship to this person. So I start to notice things more, when I watch them, when I'm going to do a review. So you just look at it, you go, oh, the cooling, they went into the cooling section, and then they used the rounds they weren't supposed to use, so that's what led to the the reaction, or the terminal, whatever you call it, the Chernobyling of the reactor. Like, oh, it all works together quite well. So the story is that it's decades in the future, and Ripley is not believed about. She's semi-believed. They're like, the logs corroborate a lot of what you said, but not this alien. We don't have any evidence of this thing. So what happens is she's trying to, get the corporation to listen to them. By the way, this scene is, one of those like hour and a half movies. Usually when I watch these popcorn movies that are an hour and a half, I'm always like, bruh, this could have been an hour and 15 minutes. The 2.5 hours. The 2.5 hourness of this movie really makes it work, because you get all these, there's a lot of just like personal moments and bonding. There's also like a lot of flirting. There's a lot of men admiring women, but not in like a simp way, like you're a cool chick, and they're like, yeah, if we weren't killing aliens, there might be something there. I mean, there's some flirting with I forget, there's this blonde guy who's like super into Vasquez, but also there's like a low-key like weird flirtation between Vasquez and Hudson. And then of course there's, in the thumbnail, Hicks and Ripley. By the way, this is just a writer thing. So they do the classic thing, horror movie thing. You introduce a ton of characters at the end, and in the middle they all get, killed, and then you're just left with a handful. It's more manageable. There's 2 characters with H last names. That's like a classic writer thing. You're not supposed to have like 2 characters whose names start with the same letter, and the same, like, it's a lot more pleased when you change it. When you change, Hicks to Nix, like, all of a sudden you're like, as a writer you just go, okay, that works a lot better. So one of the things that I like about this is it's kind of a slow build. Like, the alien fighting starts about an hour in. And we get a whole bunch of time with the future, and Ripley adjusting to the future. She gets this blue collar job, doing a power loader, which obviously that sets it up for the end, very, very well. One of the most interesting things about this is like I said, I'm just used to like constant like tension. There's a lot of the media specifically. I was talking to a friend of mine, and my friend was like, I don't know really what to make about this year. And I go, the one takeaway is to never trust the media ever again. And my friend was like, yeah. I already independently came to that. I will never trust the media ever again. But, I'm just used to like the media is constantly trying to push, tension between all sorts of different people. So like, watching a movie where like men and women like each other, and like not just romantically and sexually, but also like there's like a respect thing, it's just really nice and pleasant. James Cameron has always been noticed for he likes strong women, and that's kind of a nebulous term, but he I think he just likes women. And that comes off in that his male characters, they just kind of like women, and sometimes they're kind of crude about it, but there's this kind of mutual admiration between men and women in James Cameron movies that I really like, more so of the men admiring the women, but he writes some pretty cool women. Ripley is awesome. I always thought the actress who plays Ripley, sorry, I'm blanking on her name right now, I didn't have breakfast yet. I always thought she was kind of odd because she's like young and old, like she's one of those, young people who have like super tight skin. So when they make some expressions, they'll have like a ton of wrinkles. But funnily enough, she looks pretty much the same now as she does, in Alien Resurrection. But much has been made of her as, a feminist hero because she's strong. She takes on this, but she's just like a great character. Like, she's very well rounded. She has a very full personality. She's big. She's 6 feet tall. So when she grabs, Burke by, the collar and shoves him up against the wall, it's because she's this tall woman who's worked in blue collar jobs her whole life. She's like 6 inches taller than Burke. So it doesn't feel like this weird fake thing where, we're used to getting all these like 5'3", 100-pound women like beating up Navy SEALs. Like, no, it totally makes sense. But it's not just the physicality; it's her attitude. She's intelligent. She's compassionate. She has like this little sly sense of humor that comes out every now and then. She has these very strong maternal instincts, and she's just a great character. Like, Ripley is not, oh, she's a strong woman. Like, Ellen Ripley is Sigourney Weaver. Sorry. That's a great name. I can't believe I blanked on that's a fantastic, again, getting back to, writers and names. Like, names are, there's this slogan for EOD in the Army. It's like, initial success or complete failure. That's how names are. Like, if you got to kind of noodle with a name too long for a character or a story, it just never really gets there at all. But Sigourney Weaver is a great name. Kudos to her parents. And Ellen Ripley, they always like, Ellen Ripley is a strong woman. And then, the geeks who are always told, oh, you just hate strong women. They're like, we've loved Ellen Ripley forever. Ellen Ripley is a fantastic character. Like, very deeply rich and well written and well acted. Probably, honestly, one of the best characters in all of fiction. When you're doing like fiction, they should, Miss Havisham and Ellen Ripley, like, just fantastically, delineated characters. So typical scenario: the evil corporation not only ignores the warnings, but also part of the corporation. Although it looks like it might have been a rogue operation by Carter Burke, and I'm going to get back to him again. To basically use the aliens as bioweapons. Funny thing is, like, everyone always freaks out about that. They're like, what the hell are you thinking? That was like the plot to one of those Jurassic Park, one of the recent sequels. Vincent D'Onofrio was like, we're going to send T-Rexes or Velociraptors to Afghanistan. What the hell? Okay, they'll just kill everyone. So I think that might be it. So a lot of times when I'm doing a video, like, I have a thesis and then I prove it, and sometimes I go, and I didn't really have a thesis. It's like, Alien is not good because of the action sequences, which are amazing. The special effects, which were cutting edge of their day, and even when they don't work, at one point there's a drop ship. It's crashing in a hangar bay, I believe it is. No, it's crashing on the surface of and it's obviously like a projection on a screen in front of the set. It's still kind of fun, like, it works. Like, it's the writing good, but it's the characters. It really is the characters. You have some really rich, well done characters. You have Ripley, you have Hudson. The game over man, which is an ad lib, but it fits his character. Hudson is a very interesting character because he's shown to be cowardly, and cowardice in movies is usually presented one way: the super tough guy who gets revealed to be a coward, and it's either like, haha, or you're pathetic, or the coward who turns out to be the hero. But Hudson is like a heroic coward, and he just goes, like, he actually always does his job. If you were writing, an after action report, you could totally get this guy a silver star for his actions. You know what I mean? Now, in the movie, he's just complaining and trying to quit the whole time, but he still follows orders. He still, fights, he does his job. He just complains like a bitch the entire time. It's a very rich character. They usually don't do cowardly, heroes that way. It's usually done a lot more simply. And then you have Vasquez, who, God, one of the things when I watch these movies from the 80s and 90s, I'll watch, Vasquez, who is beloved. People love that character. Hispanic people love that character. It's a Jewish woman playing her. And sometimes her line readings are a little bit like, what are you doing? Like, they're a little bit cheesy. People love that. I'm so sad, and it's such a tragedy to art that political correctness has now made it like, oh, if this character is Afro-Caribbean, you better be Afro-Caribbean. You better not be black who's not. Like, you got to be like the thing you are. Like, I was watching Carlito's Way a couple like months ago. You got the frickin' Italian guy playing the Puerto Rican. You got the other Italian guy playing the Jewish guy. It's one of my favorite movies. And they're like, well, maybe there was a Jewish actor who could have done just as good. No, it would have been different. They could have been good, but nobody could have given the Sean Penn performance in Carlito's Way except for Sean Penn. So Vasquez is a character who doesn't have a lot of lines, but there is this really kind of rich, it's a soft-spoken character, and you run into that a lot in the military. There's just that dude in your squad who just doesn't talk a lot. Usually it's like a still waters run deep. So she has an interesting interaction with the other people, specifically like especially that blonde guy, I forget his name. He's just like, they're like doing push-ups after they come out of cryosleep or pull-ups, and he's like so into her. Like when they do like the bro hand clasp, and they're like kind of like testing each other's muscles, like he's super into it, and it's cute. It's like a cute, fun, kind of like borderline sexy moment. And Vasquez is rich without having a lot of dialogue. And then let's talk about Carter Burke. So I believe in my 20-minute edit of me seeing it on ABC, whatever, in like 1990. I think I saw like the last Carter Burke scene where it's just him being just like running like a coward and hiding and locking everyone out. Carter Burke is a fascinating character. First of all, if you notice, when everyone else is freaking out in their Marine gear in the little that kind of low profile vehicle they have, he's chill as hell, and he looks like he's like a lawyer who's going like skeet shooting for the first time. Doesn't he have like a little vest and like a little button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up? And there's a great part where Gorman, who's like the LT, who kind of he doesn't do the best job, and at one point Carter's just like super cool. He goes to Gorman, he goes, "You had your chance." So Gorman has a plan, and what does he go? It's a bad plan. If you watch it, now, yeah, he does have a plan, but like, he is really interesting character. It's a fantastic performance by a guy who ended up just doing generic comedy shit. He had an okay. Was he the one with? There was the one with not Richard Belzer, the other Richard. The one with the mullet. Mad About You? He was in Mad About You. That was the one where I got the Everything Takes 3 Hours. There's an episode that they're in New York City, like, most sitcoms. And they're like, oh, hey, we're just going to do this. He goes, everything takes 3 hours. Like, what are you talking about? We're just going here to do this one thing. He's like, in New York City, when you leave the house to do one thing, you come back 3 hours later. That's the rule. And I was like, that's kind of the rule for me everywhere. But I always, like, check my phone and stuff like that. But, yeah, like, I'll go to, like, the gym and the grocery store, and I get back, like, 4 hours later. Like, what the hell? I did 2 things. But again, Carter Burke is a rich character. Very rich, very well written. And even one who you can say is like, is he really a villain? There's one point where he's trying to... I always get a little confused when people start doing like money deals in movies. But I think what he said is that like, he was trying to cut in Ripley. He was basically saying, look, if I set this up like this, you and me, we get a finder's fee. And it'll be huge. But if it would have been found the other way, it would have been, company assets, you know what I mean? It's like when you're a scientist and you sign, while I am, working at this facility, anything I discover, even if it is not in my assigned duties, is owned by the company type of thing. So just a really deep, rich character. And then, even like characters that don't have that much screen time, I forgot how little screen time Bishop has in Aliens. I don't even remember him talking until like 20 minutes into the movie. They have a couple cool scenes, you know, the knife scene. Is Bishop even in like 15 minutes of the movie? He's not, but he really makes an impression, again, because of a very again, I talk about the paying attention, which I never used to do as much, you know, before I started reviewing. There's this great part where Bishop is going to do not exactly a suicide mission, but a very, very difficult mission. He's got to go through this pipe to, you know, connect to a link up at a satellite to call in a dropship, and he's got to fly it in. He's going to be exposed by himself. And there's a scene where they're, you know, they've cut a hole into this pipe. He's going into it. Vasquez is helping out. You know, she does the welding and arc. I forget which one cuts and which one welds, but she does both. And she just takes out a pistol, chambers around, hands it to Bishop. No dialogue. And this is, I believe, while Ripley is doing some, you know, basic exposition. Okay, you need to do X, go to X to do Y by time Z. So Vasquez, you know, not emotionally, doesn't like really milk the moment, just chambers around in her pistol, hands it to Bishop. Bishop kind of looks at it like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? Hands it to Ripley. Ripley takes it like, oh yeah, you're actually not really, we get it. You have protocols in you to help humans, so you don't want to take a pistol to defend yourself. You're going to hand it back to a human so the humans can defend themselves. That is fantastic. And you don't see stuff like that very much anymore. So Aliens get, you know, it always gets, you know, for, you know, the special effects and the action scenes, but it's really the writing and the acting that makes it. It's like some, you know, off-Broadway play or something like that, you know, and it's just fantastic. I do have to kind of meme on one thing. I mentioned this in my Sucker Punch. The weapons handling in this movie is trash, and I feel like they think it's pretty good. Holy shit. So many people come around freaking corners with their barrel pointed at the ceiling or at the deck, and it's freaking driving me insane. Or it's like slung, like freaking pointed like you're gonna use it, like, oh wow. Now they do have these longer guns, also, you know, machine gun flamethrowers. So I understand they don't want to, you know, give away their position, but then they'll come around the corner, and then the person with the rifle will do the same thing. It's like, okay, I can tell you thought you were okay. I'll let it slide. So anyway, thanks for watching. And what am I watching now? Oh, so I'm watching Alien Resurrection. Thanks for watching. Bye.